Hey, what is up, guys? Josh back here again with you today for another one, and this one that I'm doing today is another bourbon review, and for me it is a bit of kind of going back to old stomping grounds territory when it comes to whiskey. One of the first ones that I kind of, my turn, 21 started going to liquor stores and wine stores and started picking out different whiskeys and kind of trying different things out. This one here is one of the first ones I saw and interested me. One, because I was in college and was looking at the bottom shelf, lower shelf bourbons, the ones that were a little bit more affordable. That being the Old Granddad Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, the 80 proof of the what the distillery calls the Olds. Being Old Granddad Bonded, Old Granddad 114, and the well, you could say Basil Hayden, but that's who the the titular Old Granddad is Basil Hayden of Basil Hayden's bourbons. The bottle says since 1882, the unique marriage of body and flavor in Old Granddad whiskey has been the standard by which all others are judged. Discover the high rye content and legendary time-honored excellence of the distiller's craft found in every bottle. Still by the Old Granddad Distillery Company out of Frankfort and Claremont, Kentucky. So yeah, this is just sort of their bottom line. 80 proof bourbon. Have not opened it yet, as you can see. About to crack it open right now. Have not had this one in years, I think, at this point, maybe a few years. But it's again one of the maybe the second one. I think the budget. This kind of where I was budget wise was drinking Heaven Hill. The Heaven Hill whiskey itself. Not part of the Heaven Hill distillery, but the Heaven Hill, the 20% blended whiskey and 80% grain alcohol kind of whiskey, which I did not know was at the time. I did not know that it was not straight whiskey. I thought that I did not know that it was mostly grain alcohol with a bit of whiskey blended in for flavor. That it was mostly grain alcohol that I was drinking at the time. So. You can imagine that this was definitely a step up for me in terms of quality and flavor and everything like that. And I do remember Old Granddad being a very, very affordable bottle of whiskey, bourbon that had a solid quality to it. So going by the color, kind of a pale, kind of orange. Kind of gold, and the bottle itself, I mean, it's very easy to see and pick out when you're looking among the shelves of bourbons, because the whole thing is just black top and then just orange all over. Even the color of the whiskey in the bottle looks very orange in color in the glass, but it does have a bit more of a pale kind of color to it that it doesn't really have so much in the bottle, where it looks more orange overall. But yeah, leaving some decent legs, teardrops there on the glass, as you can see, kind of rimming it all the way around. So let's just go right into the aroma on this. Just sweet corn, maybe some malted barley, definitely the rye notes. It is a high rye mash bill, as it states on the bottle itself under the Old Granddad label there, as you can see. Not really sure the percentage to rye and corn that's on this. I would guess maybe 20-something% rye. Maybe the rest corn, a little bit of barley. Usually it's mostly corn in bourbons, bit of barley, bit of rye. This one is kind of more probably along the 20% range with the rye, which I really do like. A bit more rye in bourbon rather than more corn, because it gives a good bit of hit of spiciness to it. So if you have a lower quality bourbon, you add some extra rye and you get a little bit more flavor in there with it, even over ice or anything like that. This is 80 proof though, so I'll just be drinking it straight. I believe their kind of philosophy, the old granddad bourbons, are to be enjoyed straight, because they kind of have this sort of old school notion of whiskey started out being drank, being drank straight, without any mixers or anything like that. So I'll just be doing that in the spirit of their philosophy, I suppose. And it's how I used to drink it when I drank it when I first started drinking whiskey. So that's how I'll revisit it here. So let's go straight into the flavor with it. And the flavor is very high on the rye content, very high on the rye spice. Lots of rye spice up front. Good bit in the front of the palate. Fruity kind of rye notes. So it's not just heat. It's not just spice. It's not just like a cinnamon, red hot or anything like that. There's a little bit of that kind of flavor in here, a bit of that cinnamon red hot flavor, but there's a nice fruitiness to it. Apples and pears and apricot and that kind of thing, with a little bit of a floral kind of note to it as well. Then, of course, you have your sweet corn, sweet barley. So there's a good bit of sweetness to it, but also a good bit of that spice. And like I said, it is akin to sort of a red hot cinnamon sort of candy, but it's not overpowering. It's mostly just sort of, that's where that kind of sweetness and that sort of rye spice is sort of kind of melding together as, with a little bit of that maltiness, from the barley kind of sort of easing up on. So it's not just a exclusively cinnamon tasting whiskey, but there's a lot of cinnamon flavor in this one. Not really a whole lot of off flavor to it. It is it's only 80 proof, but this amount of rye in it sort of makes it feel like it's a bit hotter than an 80 proof. But there's not really any sort of alcoholic, sort of off-putting bitterness or anything like that. It goes down sweet, and then you kind of get some of the alcohol warmth and everything like that kind of going on with it. But it actually has a fairly smooth flavor to it, for being a bottom shelfer, whereas a lot of these bottom shelfers can really have a whole lot of off-putting alcoholic kind of flavor qualities to it. But this one does not. It's mostly just a nice spicy, sweet whiskey that does well on its own. Other than adding maybe some ice to it, not really much. You can maybe add a little bit of water to it if you want, but I think it really is just, it stands well enough on its own. Or if you just want to use it as a mixer or something like that in a cocktail. I got this bottle for, with the exception of the discount I get working at the store that I bought it from. I got it for $17. 20% off on it, but it sells for about 15 something retail, so it's going to be more about like 18 maybe. It's going to be under 20, let's just say that. It'll be under $20 for a bottle of this stuff, and for the quality that I get, revisiting it now, still tastes, really, really solid, bottom shelf bourbon, one that I did not think I would kind of come back and enjoy like I am with it. But, with all the single barrels and the small batches I've been drinking and stuff like that recently, the higher proof ones that are higher proof bourbons that are from kind of more, reputable kind of distilleries and, just reputable sort of lineups overall. Still really enjoy coming back to Old Granddad and remembering the whiskey that kind of got me started on this journey that I've been on for the past better part of 6 or so years now. So I would definitely recommend checking it out if you are looking for a very affordable whiskey to kind of just fulfill your whiskey cravings or anything like that. If you're just ever wanting to sit down to a glass of something and not put really all that much money into it. Really, one of the best bets you can go for is Old Granddad from the Basil Hayden lineup. So would definitely recommend checking it out. And until next time, guys, thank you for watching.